What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty.
Shakespeare. Just
In-
peak Shakespeare.
It really is. It gives you chills. He paints this picture of humanity as, well, as perfect, logical,
Godlike.
godlike even.
Right. In apprehension, how like a god. It's this beautiful, soaring idea of what we are, or, what we could be.
Exactly what we could be, because you read that, you nod along, you think, yes, that's us. But then you have to go out and actually live in the world.
Then reality hits.
Reality hits hard. You watch your neighbor try to parallel park for 10 minutes. You sit in a meeting where your boss makes a decision that makes absolutely no sense. Or, you just look at your own credit card bill.
And suddenly that noble in reason thing feels a little off.
A little off. It feels like a joke. And that's really the core conflict I want to dig into today. For so long, the whole field of economics was built on that Shakespearean idea.
It was. The foundational assumption, going all the way back to Adam Smith, is that human beings are rational agents.
Homo economicus, the rational man.
Exactly. And to be fair, they didn't mean we're all like supercomputers. But the general idea was that we compute value. We look at our options, we weigh the pros and cons, and we pick the path that gives us the most benefit.
We make the logical choice.
We make the logical choice. And if we make a mistake, say you buy a terrible car, the theory says that's just a random error.
Right. And market forces will correct you. You'll feel the sting. You'll learn your lesson, and the system sorts itself out.
That's the classical view. But the research we're diving into today, from Dan Ariely's incredible book, Predictably Irrational, it just blows that entire idea apart.
It really does. Because his thesis isn't just that we're irrational. That's kind of obvious.
Right. We all know that.
His big idea is that we are predictably irrational.
That's the twist. It's the key. We don't just mess up randomly. We make the same mistakes systematically, over and over again.
It's like a bug in our source code, a flaw in the human operating system.
That's a perfect analogy. And the specific bug we're zooming in on today is one of the biggest. It's a concept he calls relativity.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about Einstein here. No physics today.
No physics. We're talking about the simple and kind of terrifying fact that the human brain seems almost incapable of judging the value of anything in a vacuum.
In isolation.
In isolation. We don't have an internal value meter. We only understand something's worth when we see it in relation to something else.
We need to compare.
We are hardwired to compare. And that fundamental need, that little switch in our brains, is so easy to hack. Marketers do it. Salespeople do it. Our friends do it. Hell, our own brains do it to us.
And Ariely's mission, and our mission for this deep dive, is to understand why. To put our decision-making under a microscope and see where it all goes wrong.
And to do that, we have to start with a story that seems, on the surface, incredibly mundane. It's about a magazine subscription.
Yes. The mystery of the Economist subscription. It starts with Ariely just, browsing the internet. He lands on their website, he clicks on the subscription page, and he sees 3 options. And I want you to really listen to these. Option 1, an internet-only subscription. Full access to everything online, all the archives, $59.
Okay. Seems reasonable enough. Standard digital subscription price, more or less.
Option 2, a print-only subscription. The physical magazine shows up at your door every week, $125.
Whoa. Okay, that's a big jump. More than double. But, printing costs, shipping, I guess I can see the logic if you're a diehard print person.
Right. But now here's option 3, a print and internet subscription. You get the magazine delivered and you get the full online access.
Okay, and the prices?
$125.
Get that again?
The print only is $125. The print plus internet is also $125.
So, they're giving you the $59 internet access for free.
Exactly. That was Ariely's first thought. This has to be a typo. Some intern in the web department messed up the pricing table.
I mean, that would be my first thought, too, because logically, who on earth would ever choose the middle option?
No one. There is no rational customer for the print-only deal. It is, in economic terms, a dominated option. It's strictly worse than the combo.
It's like offering a hamburger for $5 or a hamburger and fries for $5. Nobody is saying, hold the fries, please, but keep the price the same.
Never. So Ariely is staring at this and the gears are turning. He thinks The Economist is a smart publication run by smart people. Maybe this isn't a mistake.
Maybe it's a trap.
Maybe it's a trap. Because think about what happens in your brain when you see those 3 options. Let's break it down. You see option 1, internet for $59. Is that a good deal?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Dead.
Compared to what? The New York Times. A Netflix subscription. I don't have a finite value for 1 year of financial journalism stored in my head.
You're unmoored. You're floating. But then you look at the other two options. Print only for 125, combo for 125.
And now the lights come on?
All the lights. Because while I don't know if $59 is a good price, I know with absolute 100% certainty that getting the combo for 125 is a way better deal than getting just the print for 125.
It's not even a question. It's a no-brainer. The comparison is effortless.
And that feeling of getting a deal, that little rush of, oh, I'm making a smart choice here, it makes the $125 combo suddenly seem incredibly attractive. Ariely called it a bloody steal.
You feel like you're outsmarting the system. You're getting the internet part for free.
But Ariely, being a scientist, couldn't just leave it there. He had to know if this useless middle option was actually changing people's behavior, so he ran an experiment.
And he used the perfect subjects. MIT business school students?
100 of them. These are the future captains of industry. They're trained in logic, in finance, in rational decision-making. If anyone should see through a cheap marketing trick, it's them.
You'd think so.
So he puts the ad in front of them. All three options. Internet for $59, print for $125, combo for $125. And he asks them to choose.
Okay, so first things first. Did anyone actually pick the dud? The print-only option?
Not a single person. Zero. It was completely ignored, just as you'd expect.
Right. Makes sense.
But now for the real choice. Between the cheap internet plan and the expensive combo plan, the results were pretty stark. 16 students, just 16%, chose the $59 internet-only option.
Okay.
And a massive 84 students chose the $125 combo.
Wow. So a huge majority went for the more expensive option, presumably because it felt like such a great deal.
It seemed like a great deal. They saw the comparison with the decoy and they jumped on it. But here's the brilliant part of the experiment. Ariely thought, okay, if nobody chose the middle option, then it's irrelevant, right?
Logically, yes. Removing an option that no one wants shouldn't change the outcome for the remaining options.
It's like a restaurant menu. If you offer steak, chicken, and poison, and nobody orders the poison, taking poison off the menu shouldn't suddenly make everyone who wanted steak order chicken instead.
Right. Your preference between A and B shouldn't be affected by the presence of a terrible option C.
So Ariely ran the experiment again. A new group of 100 MIT students. But this time, he removed the decoy. He just showed them two options.
So internet only for $59.
And print and internet for $125. That's it. A simple choice.
Okay, so if people are rational, the results should be roughly the same. Maybe a slight change, but the vast majority should still want the combo.
You would think, but that is not what happened. Not even close. The preferences didn't just change, they flipped completely upside down.
Really?
With the decoy gone, the number of students choosing the expensive combo plummeted from 84 down to 32.
That's a massive drop. More than half of them changed their minds.
And the cheap $59 internet option, it went from just 16 students all the way up to 68.
So the majority choice completely reversed, just by removing an option that no one was choosing anyway.
Isn't that wild? It proves the print-only option wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a typo. It had a job. It was a decoy.
Its only function was to be a point of comparison to make the combo look good. Without the decoy, what did the students see?
They just saw $59 versus $125. And without an easy comparison to make the combo feel like a deal, they just defaulted to the cheaper option. Wow, $125 is a lot of money. I'll take the $59 one.
The whole context of the decision changed. And this gets to the very heart of relativity. Our brains are desperate for context, for an easy comparison. And when we find one, we latch onto it, even if it leads us to a completely different conclusion.
Ariely has this great visual analogy to explain it. It's one of those classic optical illusions.
Yes, the Ebbinghaus illusion.
That's the one. So imagine a black circle. Now, if you surround that circle with a bunch of really large gray circles, what does the black circle look like?
It looks tiny. It seems to shrink.
Right. Now take that exact same black circle, don't change its size at all, but surround it with tiny little gray dots.
Now it looks huge. It seems to expand and dominate the image.
But it's the same circle. Nothing about it has changed. Only its context. Only what it's being compared to.
And Ariely's point is that our minds work this way for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for shapes and sizes, for salaries, for vacations, for attractiveness, for the value of a toaster. We are wired to see things in relation to other things.
We can't help it. It's automatic. You know, it reminds me of that classic line from Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, the scene in New York.
Yes. The mugger pulls out a little switchblade, trying to be tough, and Paul Hogan just sort of smirks and says...
You call that a knife?
And then he pulls out this gigantic Bowie knife, practically a sword. That's a knife.
It's a perfect example. A second ago, the switchblade was a weapon. It was scary. It had a certain value. The moment the bigger knife appears, the switchblade is redefined. Its value plummets. It becomes a joke.
All because of relativity. But there's a nuance here that's really important. It's not that we just compare everything to everything else. That would be exhausting.
Our brains are lazy or, efficient. We don't want to do the hard work of comparing apples to oranges.
We want to compare apples to slightly bruised apples? It's easier.
That's the core of the comparison trap. We gravitate towards the easy comparisons, and we tend to ignore the harder ones, even if the harder comparison is the more important one.
There's a fantastic real estate example in the book that lays this out. Imagine you're house hunting. It's stressful. It's a huge decision.
Been there. It's awful.
So your agent takes you to see 3 houses. House A is a super modern contemporary design. Lots of glass, open concept. House B is a classic colonial. Brick, traditional layout, very charming. And it's in great shape, has a brand new roof. And House C is another colonial. It's right down the street from House B. Same layout, same size. But it needs a new roof. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. The price is slightly lower to reflect that, but it's a hassle.
So we have the contemporary, the good colonial, and the decoy colonial.
Exactly. So what does your brain do when faced with that choice?
Well, first, I'd try to compare the contemporary to the colonial, and that's hard.
It's really hard. How do you weigh open concept living against traditional charm? There's no objective scale. It's apples and oranges. My brain starts to seize up.
It's mentally taxing. So what do? You look for an easier comparison, and there it is, sitting right there.
The 2 colonials.
The 2 colonials. I don't need to be an expert to know that a house with a good roof is better than the exact same house with a bad roof. That comparison is a slam dunk.
It's easy. It's effortless.
Yeah.
And because that comparison is so easy, something funny happens.
The contemporary just sort of fades into the
It
background.
gets ignored. Your brain focuses on the easy win. You think, well, the good colonial is clearly better than the bad colonial. And that little victory gives the good colonial this halo. It feels like a winner.
And so you choose it. You buy the good colonial, feeling very smart about your decision, but you might have completely ignored the contemporary, which might have actually been the perfect house for you at a better value.
All because the real estate agent cleverly introduced a slightly worse version of the house they wanted you to buy.
The decoy nudged you. It framed the decision. If the agent wanted to sell a contemporary, they should have shown you a second contemporary with a cracked foundation.
It's frightening. And this isn't just a hypothetical. This is happening all the time. Marketers call it the decoy effect or asymmetric dominance. And once you learn to see it, you start seeing it everywhere.
Oh, it's a staple of retail.
Yeah.
And there's a classic story about how William Sonoma kind of stumbled into this with bread makers.
Yes. I love this story. So picture it. William Sonoma decides to sell a home bread making machine. It's a new product category. They price it at $275.
A pretty hefty price tag for a kitchen gadget at the time.
For sure. They put it on the shelves, they make a nice display, and they wait for the money to roll in. Nothing. It was a total flop.
Crickets.
Nobody was buying it. And you can imagine the panic in the boardroom. Is the machine bad? Is it too expensive? Do people not want bread?
But try to put yourself in the shoes of a shopper back then. You're walking through the store. You see this thing, a bread maker. What do you mean is that? Do I need one? Is $275 a lot for one? Or is it a bargain?
You have no context. There's no anchor for its value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see a toaster for $275, you know it's a ripoff. You see a car for $275, you know it's a steal. But a bread maker, you're just floating.
So people just walked right past it. So William Sonoma, stumped, hires a marketing research firm. And the firm comes back with this piece of advice that sounds completely insane.
They don't say lower the price?
No. They don't say make a better ad. They say you need to introduce a second bread maker.
Okay.
And the second one needs to be bigger, more deluxe, and priced about 50% higher than the original.
So now you've got the original $275 model, and next to it is this giant professional-looking machine for, say, $425.
Now, think about that from a business perspective. It's terrifying. We can't sell the one we have, so you want us to introduce an even more expensive one that no one will buy?
It seems like throwing good money after bad. But think about the shopper now.
The shopper walks in, they see the two machines sitting side by side.
And suddenly, the $275 price tag isn't just an abstract number anymore.
No, it's the cheaper one. It's the sensible one. You look at the big one for $425 and think, wow, who needs that beast? And then you look at the original and think, well, compared to that, $275 is a bargain.
The context is established. The more expensive machine becomes the decoy. Its only job is to make the original look like a good deal.
And what happened? Sales of the original $275 machine went through the roof.
They skyrocketed because the marketing firm understood relativity. They gave people an easy comparison, which gave them permission to buy. It turned a confusing decision into a simple one.
You walk out of the store with your bread maker feeling like you just saved $150.
When in reality, you just spent $275 on a machine you had no interest in the day before.
It's brilliant and devious. And restaurants have turned this into a science. Ariely talks about menu engineers.
Oh yeah, it's a whole profession. People like Greg Rapp, the consultant he mentions, they design menus specifically to manipulate you into spending more money.
We think we're just choosing what we're in the mood for.
Not at all. The menu is choosing for you. For example, you'll often see one ridiculously expensive item at the top of a section, like a $65 market price lobster tail.
Right. And I almost never order that.
And they don't really expect you to. That lobster tail isn't there to be sold. It's a decoy.
For what?
For the second most expensive item, the $38 steak.
Oh, that is sneaky.
Think about the psychology. You're out for a nice dinner. You don't want to look cheap and order the $15 chicken pasta, but you also don't want to seem extravagant and order the $65 lobster.
So you land in the middle. The steak seems like a reasonable, respectable choice.
It feels like the sweet spot, and that's by design. The lobster is just there to make a $38 steak feel like a sensible purchase. And very often, that second-tier item is the one with the highest profit margin for the restaurant.
I feel like my entire dining history is a lie.
It's all about framing.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Sam, the TV salesman.
Ah, Sam. We've all met a Sam. He's the guy at the big box store who knows exactly how to play this game.
So you walk in, you want a TV. Sam points you to a wall with 3 models. He's got a 36-inch Panasonic for $690. He's got a 42-inch Toshiba for $850. And he's got a giant 50-inch Philips for $1,480.
So small, medium, and large, both in size and price.
Right. Now, Sam knows you don't really understand the difference between pixel response times or dynamic contrast ratios. It's all just jargon to you.
Totally.
But he does know one thing about human nature. When given 3 options like this, a low, a middle, and a high, most people will avoid the extremes.
We don't want the cheapest one because we assume it's poor quality. There must be a reason it's so cheap.
And we don't want the most expensive one because, well, it's expensive. We're not rock stars.
So we land the plane between the runway lights, as Ariely puts it. We pick the middle one.
The Goldilocks choice. It feels safest. It feels like the most balanced decision. So if Sam has a warehouse full of 32-inch Toshibas that he needs to move,
he just makes sure to price it as the middle option.
that's all he has to do. He makes sure there's a slightly cheaper, less appealing TV to its left and a much more expensive aspirational model to its right. The other 2 TVs are essentially just props. They're decoys for the Toshiba.
And you walk out with the Toshiba feeling like you made a really careful, considered choice.
When really, Sam made the choice for you before you even walked in the door.
It's just everywhere. But so far, we're talking about things. Bread makers, TVs, stapes. It's commerce. But this gets way weirder and way more personal. Ariely takes this concept of relativity and applies it to love.
This is where it gets really uncomfortable. Because we want to believe that our feelings, our attractions are pure and absolute. Love at first sight.
Right. It's chemistry, it's destiny. It's not supposed to be like picking a television.
The research suggests it might be exactly like picking a television. Let's start with the honeymoon experiment. It's a great bridge.
Okay. So the scenario is you've just gotten married, you're planning your honeymoon, you've narrowed it down to 2 all-inclusive trips, a week in Paris or a week in Rome.
Both fantastic options. Both packages include flights, hotel, and, crucially, free breakfast every day.
This is a hard choice. The Louvre versus the Colosseum. Crepes versus pasta. It's another apples and oranges problem.
Very difficult. Your brain could spin on that for weeks. But now, what if the travel agent says, you know what, I can also offer you a third option.
Okay.
Option C is Rome, same hotel, same flights, but no free breakfast. Let's call it minus Rome.
Well, that's a stupid option. Why would I ever choose Rome without breakfast when I can have Rome with breakfast for the same price?
It wouldn't. It's a dominated option. It's a decoy. But watch what it does to your brain.
Okay.
Before, you had the hard comparison, Paris versus Rome. Now you have a super easy comparison, Rome with breakfast versus Rome without breakfast.
And Rome with breakfast wins that fight easily.
It crushes it. And because it scores that easy, decisive victory, your brain gives it that winner's halo we talked about. Rome with breakfast starts to feel like the superior choice, not just over its weaker self, but over Paris, too.
So the mere existence of a worse version of the Rome trip makes the good version of the Rome trip seem better than the Paris trip.
That's what the research shows. Paris is left out in the cold because it didn't have a bad version of itself to beat up on. It didn't have a Paris without croissants to make it look good.
That is just deeply weird. But okay, that's a vacation. It's still a product. Does this really apply to people? To attraction?
Ariely decided to find out. He ran what he called the hot or not experiment.
This sounds fraught with peril.
A little, yeah. So he took a bunch of photos of MIT students. Then he had other students rate them and pair them up by general attractiveness. So you end up with pairs of people who are, objectively, about equally good looking. Let's call them person A and person B.
Okay, so a George Clooney and a Brad Pitt. Different looks, but same tier of attractiveness.
A reasonable college student equivalent, yes. Then he brought out Photoshop.
Oh, no.
He took the photo of person A and created a slightly distorted version. He might have made one eye droop a tiny bit or made the face slightly less symmetrical. He created a decoy version, A-.
So you have regular George Clooney and you have slightly off George Clooney.
Exactly. Then he presented a choice to a new group of students. They were shown 3 pictures on a sheet of paper.
Regular person A.
The decoy, A-. And picture 3, regular person B.
So it's the same setup as the Economist ad. A, A-, and B. And the question was,
which of these people would you be more likely to want to date?
and the result.
Overwhelmingly, people chose person A, about 75% of the time.
Wow. So simply being presented next to a slightly less attractive version of yourself makes you seem more appealing than an equally attractive but different-looking competitor.
The brain does the same thing. It avoids the hard A versus B comparison. It latches onto the easy A versus A- comparison. A wins easily, gets the halo, and suddenly seems like the best choice overall.
I don't know whether to be amazed or horrified.
It's a bit of both. And of course, Ariely can't resist offering some practical, if morally dubious, advice based on this.
A wingman strategy.
The ultimate application of relativity. So the theory goes, if you're single and you're going out to a bar or a party, the key is who you go with.
And most people get it wrong.
Completely wrong.
Right.
You don't want to bring your supermodel friend, obviously. That just makes you the decoy.
Right, you become A-.
But you also don't want to bring a friend who looks totally different from you. If you're tall and athletic, don't bring your short, bookish friend. The comparison is too hard. It's apples and oranges.
So what's the secret?
You need to bring a friend who is similar to you in basic features. Same general build, hair color, style, but is, and there's no nice way to say this, slightly less attractive than you.
You need to find your A-.
You need to find your A-, because then an observer's brain will naturally compare the two of you. It's an easy comparison. You will win that comparison. And that victory will make you seem more attractive than everyone else in the room.
This is the most diabolical piece of dating advice I have ever heard. You're basically weaponizing your friends.
It's pure, cold, calculated relativity. But the book does come with a warning.
Which is?
If a friend who looks a lot like you, but is maybe just a little better looking, asks you to go out with them, you might be the wingman.
You might be the decoy.
That's a rough moment of self-awareness. Okay, so this is all fascinating. It's funny. It's weird. But the last part of this deep dive has to be about the dark side of relativity. Because it's not just a funny quirk. It can make us profoundly miserable.
This is really the most important takeaway. Relativity is the engine of jealousy and envy. It's why people with more than they could ever need can feel poor.
The story he tells about the investment executive is just, it's perfect.
It really is. So an executive at a big firm is having a meeting with a young, high-performing employee. The employee is unhappy with his pay.
So the exec pulls up his file. He asks, so what were you hoping to make when you joined us, fresh out of college? And the kid says, I was hoping for about $100,000 a year.
Which is an incredible salary for a recent grad. A life-changing amount of money.
Absolutely. And the exec looks at the file and says, well,
yeah,
you're making almost $300,000.
Triple his wildest dream. So the exec is confused. He says, "You're making 3 times what you hoped for. How can you possibly be unhappy?" By any absolute measure, this kid is a massive success.
He should be thrilled, but he's not. And he explains why.
He says, "Well, the guys sitting at the desk next to me, they aren't any smarter than I am, and they're making $310,000.
Oof.
It's just a $10,000 difference on a salary of $300,000. It's a rounding error, but it's everything."
It's everything. Because his happiness isn't anchored to his own needs or his own past expectations. It's anchored to the guy sitting 5 feet away. Relativity made him feel poor, even though he was rich.
And this seems to explain so much about modern life. With social media, our comparison circle isn't just the people at the next desk anymore.
It's the entire world. We're constantly comparing our real lives to the curated highlight reels of billions of other people. It's a recipe for misery.
And it has huge societal consequences. The example of CEO pay is just staggering.
It's a perfect case study in unintended consequences. So, back in 1993, regulators were concerned that CEO pay was getting out of control.
So they had what seemed like a very rational idea: transparency. They passed a rule that forced public companies to disclose the full compensation packages of their top executives.
The theory was that public shame would act as a brake. If everyone saw these outrageous numbers, boards would be too embarrassed to keep raising salaries.
It was a classic rational economic solution, but they forgot about relativity.
They forgot about relativity in a huge way. Because what happened when those lists were published?
CEO pay didn't go down, it exploded.
It went into hyperdrive. Because CEOs didn't compare their salary to the average worker and feel shame. They compare their salary to other CEOs.
It became a public leaderboard, a status competition. A CEO would look at the list and say, "Wait a minute, the guy at our competitor is making $500,000 more than me. I'm better than him. I demand a raise."
Every board of directors felt pressure to pay their CEO above average to signal that they had top talent. And of course, when everyone tries to pay above average, the average just keeps ratcheting up.
The policy designed to curb CEO pay was the single biggest driver of its increase. It was like throwing gasoline on a fire.
All because we are fundamentally wired to look at what's next to us, not what's in our own hands.
Ariely quotes this line, "The more we have, the more we want." And relativity is why. It's a treadmill that you can never get off, because the goalposts are always moving based on who you're standing next to.
It's a profound challenge to our idea of progress and happiness.
So as we wrap this up, what's the takeaway? We know we're pilots landing in the dark. We know we need these runway lights, these comparisons to function. But we also know the lights can be moved by marketers or by our own envy.
You know, it's interesting. Ariely brings up the 10 Commandments, specifically the one that says, "Thou shalt not covet."
Right. Don't covet your neighbor's house or his ox or his donkey.
And he makes the point that this is probably the hardest commandment of them all to follow. Most of the others are about actions. Don't steal, don't kill. You can physically restrain yourself from doing those things.
But coveting, that's a thought. That's an internal feeling.
It's the feeling of relativity. It's looking at your neighbor's new donkey or his new Tesla and feeling that pang of dissatisfaction with your own. It's baked into our hardware.
So if we can't get rid of the instinct, what can we do? Can we fight it?
I think awareness is the only weapon we have. Once you understand the decoy effect, you can start to spot it. When you're looking at a menu, you can consciously identify the ridiculously expensive item and know what its job is.
You can ask yourself, am I choosing this option because I actually want it, or just because it's clearly better than this other, slightly worse option right next to it?
It's about trying to break out of the narrow comparison frame. Try to widen the circle. Don't just compare the good colonial to the bad colonial. Force yourself to go back and compare to the contemporary. Or, even better, compare to staying in your current house.
Compare it to the absolute value, not just the relative value. Does this purchase, this choice, this relationship actually make my life better on its own terms?
It's hard work. It's fighting against a deeply ingrained instinct. But it's the only way to get closer to making a truly rational choice.
So I guess that's the challenge for everyone listening. The next time you find yourself making a choice, big or small, take a second. Look for the decoy. Look for the runway lights. And ask yourself who set them up.
And if you can do that, you might just find you can land the plane wherever you actually want to go.
Go forth and be just a little less predictably irrational. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
My pleasure. See you next time.